Gamebreaker TV.
Do not change the dial. Yes, it is Tuesday, and we've got a GuildCast episode number 20 for you guys. It's April 24th, 2012. It's Gamebreaker.tv. I'm Gary Gannon, and today, oh my God, there's such a flood of craziness that went on today. I don't know. We got so much to talk about. I'm not even going to tell. I don't know. We got Forbes magazine interviews. We've got throwing the WoW killer out there. We've got download client today. We got so much more, plus a ton of viewer questions. But first, from Gamebreaker.tv, our very own Scott Hawks. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, sir. Good to be back on this very fine Tuesday. And, of course, joining us as well, Mr. Richard Procopio. How are you, sir?
Hello. Is it Friday yet?
It is not Friday yet. But one thing happened today. So big bomb dropped today. A couple big things happened today. First of all, yes, you can now download the client. Well, for some of you, the emails started going out. ArenaNet has confirmed emails started going out today. I'd say around, I don't know, what was it, around 2 o'clock today, Scott?
Yes, roughly around the time.
Around 2 o'clock, emails started going out. ArenaNet confirming over the Twitter. It's where all the kids hang out. It's where they get their information, the Twitters. That yes, emails had gone out and you can start downloading it. I know immediately after that, I think sites started 504ing, which means you can't access it. And I'm sure everyone at ArenaNet started scrambling.
They were busy over there.
They were absolutely busy. But if you haven't got your invite yet, I think they are going out in waves. You will get one. Don't worry. I don't think you should fret. So just, did you guys both get your email? Richie, did you get your email?
I got my email. I got a bunch of 504s for a few hours, and then all of a sudden everything cleared up and I was able to start downloading. Of course, it crashed in the middle. My whole computer went down, so I have to start that over after the show. But, you know, things are going. Not going to panic.
Are we pretty much confirmed that 504s have gone away for the most part at this point?
They seem a lot better to me. I was able to hit several different forum places and get in. I sent some links to a couple friends. They were able to get in, so I think it's looking better.
How about you, Mr. Hawks? Did you get your email?
Well, I got my email eventually, yes, but mine was downloaded and all updated by about 6 a.m. Pacific this morning. So I've put it on a few times through the day just to have a look and feel smug about things.
You just trying to show off, buddy? You just trying to show off?
Let me think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, he's not going into the game. He's just looking at the login screen.
Just looking at the login screen.
Hearing the pretty music.
Yeah, there is no logging in yet. Now, so if that wasn't big enough, we had a really popular. If you guys haven't seen the community PvP post that Mr. Scott Hawks and Mike Bailey put out today, you have to go watch it. It's about like an hour long. It's like an extra GuildCast. You guys just took over the show this week. It's part 1 of 2. There's another.
Part 1. Yeah,
there's another one coming where you guys put out some emails looking for community questions all about PvP, and you guys answered them for I don't know, 9, 12 hours, something like that. But today's part 1.
Something like that, yeah. Yeah, at the end of it, we had to put those those silver blankets you get at the end of marathons. We had to wrap ourselves in those after we'd finished answering all the questions and lie down for several hours. But yeah, it was fun actually. It was good.
Amazing response on that video, by the way. A lot of people loving it. A lot of good questions asked. So check that out. That's on the site right now. So on top of that, Gamebreaker.tv gets the exclusive today. This information is not anywhere else to be found on the interwebs, including ArenaNet's own website. I don't know if they've updated since we've pushed it out there. But if you guys are not Guild Wars 1 players out there, we should try and fill you in. First of all, Scott, give me a little background on the Hall of Monuments and exactly what it is, because this is something that is in Guild Wars 1, but it totally pertains to any of the Guild Wars 2 players out there.
Yes, right. What's basically happened is this. In Eye of the North, Guild Wars, the first Guild Wars, there's a Hall of Monuments, and you can do various things on different tracks, and you get points, up to 30 points, to get lots of things for all the monuments. Now, what happens now, a certain gentleman who's over there on my screen, he's got virtually everything because he's like that. But anyway, once you've got all these points, it unlocks things that carry over into Guild Wars 2. So if you're a Guild Wars 2 fan who hasn't got the first one and has been thinking, well, I don't know much about Guild Wars 1, it's a bit too late, and hey, it doesn't really matter anyway, you might want to think again, especially after the news that we broke today.
So basically, what we found out today, like I said, this is not even on the ArenaNet website. You won't find this. But basically, what they did in Guild Wars 1 was they had all these special weekends where they would have these weekend events, and only certain things would drop that would drop certain items and things like that, and you needed them for the Hall of Monuments. Well, we found out today that right now for the 7th year anniversary, it's crazy. I can't believe Guild Wars 1 has been running 7 years. They have implemented that all of those weekend events, basically anything that would have dropped in any of those events, is active right now in Guild Wars 1 for this 7th year event. So basically, if you go into Guild Wars 1 right now, and you have to have Eye of the North, obviously, you could start working towards your Hall of Monuments. And as far as we know, this may never be available like this again. So you would have had to have been a long-term player to hit all of those weekends throughout those 7 years over the course to get those perks. But right now, what is it, through the 8th, I believe? Do you guys know the dates?
Yes. It's today till May the 8th.
Till May the 8th, if you go and play Guild Wars 1, you can get all of these perks. They're all dropping. And like he said, Scott said, they all carry over into Guild Wars 2. What are some of the rewards that we know of we're going to get? There's that crazy. They carried that elite ranger pup thing. What was that thing? I don't have enough.
The Hound of Balthazar.
Yes, that's a Guild Wars 2 pet. Am I correct? And they brought that. Everyone who logs into Guild Wars 1 right now for the 7th year is actually going to get a perk on that side as well. It's kind of confusing. They're just giving crap away, like from every go to Guild Wars 1, get crap, set yourself up, and make sure you get good crap when you get to Guild Wars 2. Hurry up, buy now. Are you guys gonna jump in there? Like Richie, you're a long-term player, right? Do you have all of these?
I've been playing for a little over a year. Yeah, you can get up to 30 Hall of Monument points and still get stuff that carries over to Guild Wars 2. You can go up to 50 if you want to get some special titles that carry over to Guild Wars 2. I'm at 30 points. I actually just finished that like a week or two ago, and it's like a long grind and a slog. So when I heard that like things were going to be a little bit easier to get now, I'm like, well, I guess that's good for other people, but my head hurts now.
So were you doing this all leading up to this just because of the Guild Wars 2? Like you were just getting ready. So you've been doing this for weeks now?
Yeah. I've been doing this for I've been working on my Hall of Monuments actively since last June.
Wow.
Yeah, it's for a player to start from scratch right now, it's a long road, and there's a lot of things that you have to work on, in addition to learning the game if you're brand new to it. So it's not too hard to get a few points in there, but to get the 30, it's a lot of work.
Let me ask you this, though. Now with all of them being open for all those special weekends right now for the anniversary, is it feasible for a player to jump in right now and get a lot of these?
What I would say, I haven't been able to jump into Guild Wars. There's actually, when they were having all the 504 hours with the Guild Wars 2 downloads, I couldn't get into the original Guild Wars just to check it out. I don't know exactly what every perk is. I think there's going to be stuff like, faction gains are going to go quicker and different things like that. And so it's feasible for someone to get all the points in a very short amount of time, but you're really going to know some people who've been playing the game a while, have some resources to give you and stuff like that, or can run you through some of the harder content. This should make it easier, but I don't know if it's a fast track to all 30 points or not. I'd have to explore a little bit about exactly what the things they put in to really make a hazard a guess, but it should help a bit.
You have any insight on that, Scott?
There's a lot of different, but basically a lot of the faction you can get accelerated. Different factions you can get accelerated with the bonus from the weekend. There's also other ones where to do with PvP you can get accelerated earnings from that. So there's a lot to do, but what they've done with this weekend is basically put some jetpacks on guys who want to jump in now and try and fly through some of this to get those points. I mean, you get 3 points in the honor section just for basically having the game and linking it up to start you off. And then, as I said, as Richie said, there's a lot in there. There really is a lot of scope in there to go running around and learn about Tyria as you go about getting all these points. But with all the bonuses that have been put in there, it's definitely there to assist the new player in to try and amass as much of them as possible.
I'm trying to look right now. I was going to try and see like how much actually is Guild Wars costing you right now with Eye of the North. I'm not really sure the price. Okay, so Guild Wars available for $19.99. So it costs you $20, and then Eye of the North. How much is Eye of the North? Let's see. Purchase now.
I've seen a package now. I don't know if that's
another $20.
Packages but I've seen packages where you can get all three. Like you can get 3 for like a deal price.
So if you look around, there's
sure
a deal.
It's on the official site. Yeah, there's deals that you can find where you can get the bundles together and get it pretty cheap. I think between $25 and $30 the last time I checked. Because I've got to do it. So
I think you can get all of them for around $30 or something like that.
Yeah, that's actually what the chat room is telling us as well. It looks like you get a bundle for $30. I mean, the other cool thing too. I mean, I know this weekend, of course, everybody's watching this show can't wait for the. I don't know, something to get flipped on, maybe just get to play a little Guild Wars 2. But, I mean, what's the date on this weekend? Because you still have some time. I mean, right after that. I mean, this might be a really good way also for players to get in there and learn some lore and just, like, learn a bit about the game. I mean, it's a completely different game, though, right, Richie?
Oh yeah. It is very different in how it plays than, both games. Completely different things. So you don't want to necessarily, if you haven't played either, you don't want to go into Guild Wars 1 and try to make any kind of opinion about what Guild Wars 2 is like. But if you want to get a flavor of the world, you want to get, what the lore is going to be like, get some recognition in some of the names and the lay of the land and stuff like that. It is great fun, and especially considering that it's a 7-year-old game. And coming in a player like a year ago who's never played before, I was like pretty impressed. I was like, wow, it looks good. It's got some great storytelling in it, and it plays very differently than a lot of MMOs. So
it holds up. I logged in. I have an account. I logged into my account. I'd say, well, it's been probably about 8-12 months, somewhere around there. But it holds up pretty well. It still looks damn good for a 7-year-old game. Much better than most MMOs out there. I don't know. This new Hall of Monuments thing is really kind of like teasing me. It's really making me want to resurrect my account because I have an account. I don't have Eye of the North, but I do have I'm like, man, maybe I should get in there and play for a little bit and try and get some of these perks.
It's pretty brilliant, isn't it? Really, as a way to sell a 7-year-old game, as you're coming up to its sequel.
Oh look, the carrot. Here's the carrot.
It's fantastic.
Here's the carrot, Gannon. Look here, Scott. The carrot's just dangling right here in front of you. Are you gonna jump in now, Scott?
Oh, dear. Yeah, I've.
But are you jumping back in to try and get your Hall of Monuments up? With
I already have. I've got a slight problem with my account because of things that I'm dealing with. I'm sure it'll be done soon, but I've already said there's a chance I might end up just getting the bundle anyway and putting it up to my new account all afresh and jumping in there and trying to fill my Hall of Monuments up.
Look,
I really am.
They got you. They
have.
They really did. We got this info this morning, and I started jumping up and down. I was like, get this on the site. Get this up on Gamebreaker. This is crazy. I can't. They're giving away all of this stuff. Nobody's got this information. I mean, hit up the arena net. We're like, is this real? Is this real? You guys, is this totally confirmed? They're like, yep, it's totally confirmed. Nobody knows it. You guys are the only people that figured it out. So it's up on the website right now. So check that out. It's up there right now as well if you want any more information on that. And go over to guildwars.com. Or a lot of people are saying Steam has the bundle for like $29 or something. I haven't checked it, but something like that. So I guess if you guys want to get into some Guild Wars and you got some time to kill, we still don't have a release date for the Guild Wars 2. This might be the perfect time. Start getting your Hall of Monument stuff up. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about some stuff of the week also. So it looks like ArenaNet are actually aiming for the big guys here, the throne. They're going for it. So Forbes magazine, or I don't know if this is Forbes magazine or Forbes.com. You guys know which one it was? Was it in the is it just is it one and the same at this point? Do they even do print? Who does print?
I worry about distinguishing between the two.
Who lives in this analog world? No. Forbes. We'll just say Forbes.
It's Forbes.
Who wants paper cuts anyway?
Forbes spoke with ArenaNet's founder, Mike O'Brien, and he got some fighting words. He got some fighting words in him. So he had this to say. He said, we're in it to win it this time. We were number 2 to World of Warcraft with Guild Wars. Now we want to beat them. We'll be satisfied when Guild Wars 2 is the most successful MMO. I think we have something unique here, and players are going to see it and understand why dynamic events are a better content model than people have experienced before in online words. Man, them's fighting words. Them's dangerous words, man. He's getting out there. I mean, really, he's putting himself right up against the old big Blizzard there.
And people accuse us of hype. Let's face it, if you want to get some attention and get out there and, make sure people are perfectly aware of who the new kid on the block is very soon, that's the way to do it. I mean, we get a bit of stick, I've used the phrase again, we get a bit of stick for comparisons to WoW that we make sometimes when we're talking about Guild Wars 2. But the fact is, it's the gorilla in the room still. And that's why it begs comparison.
It's the game that we can always draw a comparison to, at least to try and point out what we're sort of talking about or put it in perspective, and especially for a lot of players. But to be going up, right up against them, saying we want to be number 1. I mean, why would you spend this many years of your life and not want to be number 1, right? But Richie, do you think Guild Wars 2 really? I mean, a lot of people have read this and go like, it's whatever, it's hype. He's saying of course they want to be number 1. Doesn't mean they're going to be number 1. But do you think Guild Wars 2 could actually dethrone World of Warcraft and become the number 1 MMORPG?
It's hard to guess. You know what? Out of anything that's coming out, that has come out recently, or any MMO that's coming out in the near future, I think it's got the best shot. I mean, the Guild Wars 1 sold 7 million boxes, so they're coming in with a huge fan base. We know that there's a lot of people who are giving attention to this game who've never played Guild Wars 1, so that there's going to be an attraction there for new players. And they also have a huge fan base internationally, which I think is very important if you want to gain that kind of traction. So I think out of anything out there, they have a shot. But I wouldn't say yes or no. I mean, WoW had almost 12 million at their peak. That's a lot of players for a game. I think they're going to be very successful. It's going to be a very big game. And I'm glad to hear from Mike O'Brien that he wants to push the company to be the best MMO out there, and that's a great thing for not only the people at ArenaNet to get behind, but like the fans to get behind. So.
I mean, Blizzard will fall. So I know a lot of people say like, oh, the only any game that will dethrone World of Warcraft is going to be another Blizzard game. But I mean, do you remember? I'll use a comparison. I mean, remember MySpace back in the day? I mean, you would have never thought that all of a sudden, like within a year, they were buried, right? And then it's like, oh, everybody's on Facebook. It can still happen, right? Right, Scott?
But what buried MySpace was basically something replaced it that essentially did everything it did, but much, much, much more, and made it obsolete. Now the question is can you really make something like World of Warcraft obsolete with the amount of fan base it's got, the amount of loyalty that it's got? I don't think so, not in the sort of same speed as that. However, what you can do is offer something that is going to be a long-term grab for a large proportion of the market. And I'll guarantee that, of course, Guild Wars 2 is going to be bigger than WoW was at launch.
Oh, that's without a doubt.
That's easy. But the question is, will it manage to grow at anything like a similar rate? It's going to have a better base point to start from. But it's down to how does it follow up, but how does the content follow up as we go along? Which we'll talk about in a bit, we've had some encouraging signs even today about that. But let's face it, if you're just talking about quality of game, and does it have the quality to deserve a large part of the market, then from what we've seen so far, then yes, it does.
You guys both brought up an interesting point that we were talking about, like Richie talked about box sales and that. When I read this, the first thing I did think of was, well, without a subscription, how is ArenaNet, how is the industry, in a sense, even going to measure something like this? Because is it just, we can't just say boxes, because they'll probably sell definitely 10 million plus boxes. I don't know. How do you even measure something like this? Like, how do you put them up against Blizzard?
Well, figures came out in the last week. There was another, the effect of like the freemium model, and how people are spending money on in-game transactions and so on. real money transactions. There was a research done in the last week or so on how many people actually spend money, and it was put that up to 40% of people in free-to-play games spend their money in-game on those RMT, real money transactions.
Yeah, there was a study a couple of, about 8-9 months ago that I read that actually showed that the average person who spends money on microtransactions spends an average of $22 per month on micros.
Yes.
So they spend more money. So now should we
Yes.
measure it on how much money the company's bringing in per month?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly feasible if you want to simply talk about which one's the biggest. Then we don't have a subscriber model. So if you want to make direct comparisons to WoW, I guess you kind of want to use that model. But frankly, I think the way the industry is moving is that WoW is really the dying breed now in that sort of subscription-based model. So I'm not sure. I think games like Guild Wars 2. You're going to have to start looking at a new way of quantifying it, because simply comparing it to WoW it's not going to be relevant, because there's going to be less and less games that actually do that model anyway. So if you're going to compare it to WoW, it's like, okay, WoW does this per month in subs. Well, half of them anyway, because half of them aren't subs, of course, because they're in the Asian market who don't pay on that sort of basis anyway. So I think it's difficult to make that sort of monthly comparison to WoW, and I'm not sure how valid it would be long term anyway.
Do we know if Arena did they make the Guild Wars numbers public? Did they talk about how many active players are in there per month? Did they kind of post that anywhere, show that?
Not that I'm aware of.
No.
Yeah, I'm not really aware of it either, because that'd be an interesting way at least to possibly see how many active players. I just don't know if they're going to be public with that information. So I'm just sort of wondering how we're ever actually going to be able to tell, like, are they creeping up, and...
Yeah, it's going to be tough, because unless both companies come out with the same statistic, you won't be able to really directly compare them, because ArenaNet may come up with something like, active monthly users, or they might even go with box sales, or but if Blizzard just keeps touting subscriber numbers, which is probably what they should do, then you don't really have apples and apples to compare. It's going to be interesting.
It gets sort of, the issue gets confusing around, because you'll say to Blizzard, we've got this many active accounts. Well, yeah, does that include the ones that are free from 0 to 20? And are they always active accounts then, or it gets very confusing, because they can have different. They can just have different. At the end of the day, if you want to decide who's winning, if you want to put it that way, pretty much money is what it comes down to at the end. There's going to be a variety of things. You're going to look at, okay, how many servers is Guild Wars 2 going to have? How busy are they going to be? How busy are those overflow servers going to be for the first few months? I imagine very busy, and then you can maybe do a number of different, look at many different figures and add them all together and come up with some sort of basis. But a direct like-for-like, I think, between Guild Wars 2 and World of Warcraft can be very difficult.
We should just start an MMO stock market, and we can get them all on it, and we could buy and sell stock, and then we could always have these fights and debates. I love it. PS3 versus Xbox, go. All right. Mike went on to say this. He said, word of mouth will get people to understand that we really are doing something new and different. The sky's the limit once this game is out. Online worlds have a networking effect. People will bring friends to Guild Wars 2. We hope all the people who play the beta weekend will tell their friends about it. And we talked a lot about that on the last GuildCast, and kind of did some comparisons to the undercurrent that just took hold of, in the Tryon community and Rift, and really just sent that soaring. This is probably really the word of mouth is really the strongest advertising campaign I think any MMO company, whether they actually nudge it along and make it happen or not, it's really the best thing that could happen for an MMO, right? The community talking.
In poker terms, it sounds like Mike O'Brien's sitting there with a big grin on his face, and he's got a royal flush in his hand, and he's going, "This is coming soon." And they're very, very confident on the feedback they've got from some very cynical people.
You were one of them.
Too. Oh, I really was. I was like, yeah, we'll see. This sounds good, but actually, this is really good.
Yeah, no, that was all the conversations we had. I don't know you felt, Richie, but those were the conversations we had at Gamebreaker because I had gotten into beta and you hadn't. And after the first playthrough I got through, you were like asking me like a million questions, and I was like, "No, I'm smitten," and you were like, "Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it." And then you got in, and you were like, "Wow,
yeah, okay.
It kind of does what they say it's gonna do."
It really does, and they are just confident that like we're going to have people play this weekend, and they're going to find something to bitch about.
Oh,
there's going to be something. You know, I don't know. That server was down for 10 minutes. I'm not happy. There's going to be something they're not happy about. Something about the game that isn't the way. I mean, I had somebody saying that they were sick of the fact they know they're going to go into go and play it, and it's not going to have open world PvP, and then they're going to hate the game for it. I'm like, there isn't any open world PvP in it, so how can you be talking about hating it once you've played it and finding out there isn't any? There's always going to be something to complain about, but ArenaNet thinks they've got a diamond and they're just waiting for everybody to pick it up and go, ooh, look at the shiny.
It's a slow play.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Richie.
I was gonna say, it's crazy what the word of mouth can do these days. I mean, the past couple of years, we've just seen, explosions with live streaming and people, with gaming channels on YouTube, and it's just like a weekend like this. I mean, it's going to be everywhere, and people are going to be talking about it a lot. So yeah, it's the best kind of marketing is just this word of mouth that's going to happen.
You actually bring up a good point with the live streaming thing. I mean, do you guys kind of use that as a barometer of like how sort of popular? Because now, I mean, everybody's going to be playing it this weekend, right?
Yeah.
So I can imagine almost the streams being not, I don't want to say dead, but they're probably going to be, I don't know, they're probably
they're not dead.
Well, I hope not. I have two shows.
Yeah, we've got one as well.
We do. We're gonna be streaming as well. But I don't really have my hopes really aren't up that high for that many people to be watching them, to be honest with you, because everybody's be playing it.
Well, there's got to be skeptics out there who didn't want. I'm not pre-purchasing. I'm not throwing down my cash in advance. I'm not going to do that. And
Terra
maybe they'll
fans.
check it out.
What?
Yeah, so I mean, maybe those are the people that will start watching. And I'm sure there's crazy people who will be playing on one screen and watching on another. That'll happen too.
There's going to be a lot of people looking to see what happens after this beta weekend, because a lot of them think somehow that ArenaNet is, I don't know, putting things in our coffee, or I don't know, promising us gold and.
Oh, you could say it. People try and make the assumption that we're in we're in their ArenaNet's pockets or something. And it's like it couldn't be so farther from the truth.
No.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's just it's crazy.
Apparently
the entire press.
If the ArenaNet team wants to plaster Guild Wars 2 banners and buy some sides of the website, anything like that, and commercials in any of the Gamebreaker shows, just feel free to please give me a call, because they are all for sale, and we would gladly be advertising for you guys. So, I mean, some of the things like Richie, like you were talking about, though, you were saying, I think this is true, is that there are some skeptics out there. And I think some of the areas that are still a little bit gray for some MMO players, especially, I think the two things that come to mind are basically the end game and just the staying power of the game when it comes to updates and expansions and things like that. And I think a lot of veteran MMO players are a little bit, I don't want to say confused, but a little bit skeptical in the fact that there's no subscription fee. And they're like, how are they going to pay for this? And how am I going to get an expansion? And is it going to be quality and all that kind of stuff? But I mean, I think, I don't know, and the content, this weekend is just going to tell so much, because I think so many people are going to get to play it and actually at least see what the content are going to be. Do you guys have any concern about, any of that stuff? Or, do you
I think there's some confusion happening a bit when you talk about endgame, particularly. What people are used to is say you get to 80, and then you have, say, 3 or 4 raids that are the things that you do, like you progress through and then do over and over and over once you've got to endgame, and that's what endgame is. Now imagine you just take those 3 or 4 experiences and then add more of them and then smatter them through the entire game instead, all the way through. Now, does that mean there isn't an end game, or does it just mean that you approach it differently?
I think you approach it
And
differently, and I think you have to almost
exactly.
relearn a little bit what the sort of genre is dishing out, which is kind of scary for some
Yeah.
people because some people don't like
It is.
change.
It is, but I think some people think that once you get to the top level, then there's nothing else to do. But those experiences are all there because as you go around the world, of course, it changes your balance to it, rather than you being constantly overpowered to everywhere you go. You're still going to have challenging experiences where you go. So it's simply a different way of approaching it that's less sort of like linear with a ceiling, which is what the way that most MMOs do it is. You go up and up and up, and then you hit the top and it ends. That's not simply the way Guild Wars 2 is built, and I think people are very wary about that.
Yeah, and I don't even think you have to go to like the end game example because they're changing so many little things here and there. One of the things that concerns me is this weekend you're going to have a lot of players who've never actually played the game before, and most of the people that have had their hands on it before have been following shows like this or reading forum posts and really following the game. And I speak from personal experience. Like, there's a lot of friends and family that I have who pre-purchased the game and will be playing it for the first time this weekend just based on word of mouth from me, and they haven't been following it. And one of the concerns that I have is, what are they going to take something that ArenaNet has changed and we think it's great because it's innovative and it's different, and not really understand the thought behind it and just get frustrated or confused? Like, I was even just thinking about a very simple thing, like the fact that you can hit any of your action buttons and your abilities just fire off, and you don't have to have a target. And your target might, even if you do have a target, your target might not be in range, and it'll still fire off. And I could see people, hitting the button and thinking their fireballs are hidden, and they're just out of range. And they might go, and they might say, well, why is it not hitting it? That's stupid. And they don't realize this is more of an action combat. They're doing it on purpose. It's dynamic. You're supposed to dodge. And I could see people having that kind of feedback because they haven't really been following it.
It's absolutely true. That was something Mike B and I talked about in the first Q&A we do, the PvE one. As one of the things that was different about the game was people are used to, if you've targeted somebody, you can't use their ability if they're out of range and just graze out and you hit it and nothing happens. That does not happen in Guild Wars 2. And I know when I was playing in my sort of semi-conscious days, insomniac state, I'd realised that there'd been a little red message saying, I feel like you are out of range for quite a while, but I didn't realise it because a lot of these abilities operate independently of the target that you're looking at. Yeah. And that can be confusing. There's a lot, and also simply the way that you learn your sort of abilities is much more organic. Your hand isn't held as much in Guild Wars 2 to learn your profession as it is in most modern MMOs. You really learn as you go along, and you figure things out for yourself, especially like the different weapons. You haven't got all of the weapons sitting there and then you just try them out. You pick them up and then, oh, that weapon does this, and oh, it's just unlocked this, and let's see how that works. If you don't experiment with them, you're not going to know how it happens or how it works unless you've been doing research like many have.
Wow, experimentation and mystery.
Yeah,
imagine that. When they bringing that back to the game development, to game design?
And exploring, these are all things that people aren't used to doing in your MMO. They're used to being led from point to point to point, and I think it's going to be a little bit jarring if people haven't been following the game.
And things like, I for one, been playing since MMO since like EverQuest. I for one am ready for a change. I think I represent a lot of the community as well who are out there looking for something new and kind of a change. I don't know if people are gonna. I don't know if people are gonna be that off put by some of the changes, though. I can get some of the end game raiders out there like not fully getting it. I for one could never understand why the MMO genre even took that route of, hey, play this type of game for X number of hours and weeks till you get to this level, and then the entire game's going to change. You're just going to be basically playing a completely different game. They just took two games and slapped them together, and I never really understood it. It always felt just disjointed to me. So it's like,
it's absolutely true. Like most MMOs, it's not only the content, but the way you actually play. Like, gear just doesn't matter usually until you get to the end, and then suddenly it's everything. Like, every little stat matters completely, and it changes the game for you. And like a few points here and there makes the difference between being any good and being terrible in some people's eyes. And this is not that game. And like that's the thing that I think probably when I first got my hands on it I was so delighted about it, because I'm an EverQuest. That's where I came from as well. And in EverQuest, you start off in that world, and it's like, what's going on? And I'm dead. How did I die? I don't know what I'm doing.
That
I'm
is
drowned.
pretty.
Why? Because I don't know how to swim. I've got to learn how to do that now.
Were we grouped up when that happened? Because that sounds like exactly my experience.
I was there too. I was there too. And then we all sat in the fountain and left the computer so that our swimming skill would level up.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. All right, Mike. Go ahead. You have more?
No, I was just saying, Guild Wars 2 is bringing back, in many ways, it's such a forward-thinking MMO, but it's bringing back a sort of purity of exploration and experience in developing things yourself, rather than somebody holding your hand and pulling you through it, which I've been crying out for years. So that's one of the things that delights me most about it.
You can't tell Scott's looking forward to this game just a little bit. All right. Mike finishes up by saying, nothing is going to kill WoW other than WoW. Games just don't die. But do gamers think we've seen the most popular online game we've ever seen and we'll never see something more popular than that? I don't think so. One MMO has been on the top of the heap for 7 years now, but there's been a progression in the industry for other games being able to attract more and more players. And we're set to climb to the top. What do you think? Did he chicken out here? Did he not just come out and just say the WoW killer? Did he not use we're the WoW killer? No.
I'm kind of glad. I'm kind of glad he didn't.
No, yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah,
a little classy.
Especially because he used to work for Blizzard, so that's just bad karma. That's bad mojo.
No, but seriously, I mean, I think it's still too early for anyone at that point to really kind of say. I mean, just asking for trouble there.
There just isn't. The idea that a WoW killer is like a bit of a misnomer. It just I think the more someone who's going to outdo WoW or something like that. WoW killer is just the only people who can kill WoW are Blizzard, and that involves something with pulling a plug, and that's it. And the possibility of that happening anytime in this decade is incredibly unlikely. So the WoW killer as a term is something we can laugh about and sort of like, talk about, ooh, is this going to be the one that does it? And it's a nice expression. But in reality, no one's going to just kill WoW. But can there be a game that eventually surpasses WoW, either in just quality or subscription? Definitely.
All right, really quickly, viewers, what do you guys think? Leave a comment below. I'll say it. Do you think Guild Wars 2 is going to be the WoW killer? Post it below. Let us know. I'll go for it. I'll bite. Sure. Why not? You will too, because we all love a good fight in the MMO world, don't we? Just
that's terror.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, sorry. Hey, really quickly, I want to tell you guys about a great deal Netflix has done just for you guys right here at Gamebreaker TV. If you go over to netflix.com/Gamebreaker TV right now, you can sign up for a 30-day free trial, completely free. If you don't like it, you can always just cancel it and not keep it going. But I think when you try it, you're going to love it. I love the new streaming service. I don't know if you guys have access, if you guys have subscriptions, but
yep.
You do, right? It's awesome. I mean, I'm sitting up the other night. My wife's like going to sleep, and I'm like, I can't sleep. Ancient Aliens on my iPad in HD. I'm watching the Ancient Aliens right now.
And me and Quinlan are trying to get you to watch Doctor Who, and you can watch all of that on there as well.
Yeah, you've been trying. I'm trying. Let me get through season 2 of Ancient Aliens, and then I'll go to Doctor Who, because there's a couple.
Cool.
I kind of want to go to Breaking Bad as well. That's another one on my list. I can't watch. The thing is, why I love it honestly is because I can't watch TV in real time anymore. It's either on demand or like after the fact, and this is basically it's on demand. So,
especially in America, you can't watch television in America. There's so many adverts. It's like 5, 6, 7 minutes of adverts every few minutes. Oh, I can't do it.
This is seriously like about to replace my cable. I'm trying to get my wife away from it. Just use the Netflix. It's like everywhere. And I realized the other day we have it in every single room of the house and the office. Because it's like you can stream it on your Xbox, your PS3, your PC, your Mac, your iPhone, your iPad, your Roku. It's like your Apple TV. Like
your Wii.
It's ridiculous. You can watch it pretty much anywhere.
I'd actually do it on all of those. Except for the iPad, I actually do that on all of those.
I know. So check it out. Go over to netflix.com/Gamebreaker TV. They're going to hook you up with a free month trial right now. 30 days absolutely free for 30 days. Netflix.com/Gamebreaker TV. All right. Also this week, speaking to Eurogamer, Senior Vice President Randall Price had this to say. He said, the medium-term goals will relate to things along the line of the patches that will come out post-release of the game and the cadence that we're going to get into around that and the way we're going to be dividing our team between different disciplines to be able to continue to punch out incredible content for people. And I think this really falls into there talking about just like I kind of touched on before. I think a lot of players out there, the little bit of skepticism might be coming from players who might be thinking like, oh my God, this game's free. Am I going to get patches? Am I going to get content? Am I going to get expansions, this, that, and the other thing? And all I got to say is, man, ArenaNet got you. Because there's no way they're like, they're putting this much into a game, even though it's only the box price. There's no way they're putting this much into this and not going to at least be on par with every other MMO out there. They know World of Warcraft schedule. The Trine schedule is a little crazy. I don't know if they're going to go for that one. That might be a little too ambitious. But they know the average sort of like what the MMO player kind of churns through, right? They've got to be pumping out patches and more content kind of on that sort of same scale.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if people think that they were going to get to this release, put all the money into it, the work, the design, which is incredible, the incredible amount of like many layers down to a molecular level, and then release and go, hey, close the doors and walk off and leave people to play with it for forever. But no, this is going to be an ongoing process. There's plans afoot, and if they want to compete and be up there and be one of the big boys, which this is what's going to happen, you've got to do content. You've got to keep it coming, and so it's no surprise, of course. That
and I think it's fair, right, Richie? I think it's fair and understandable for a lot of the people out there new to Guild Wars just to be a little bit apprehensive and a little bit worried so much about how much free content we're actually going to get through patches.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, they have already set the precedent in Guild Wars 1. Guild Wars 1 had no subscription, and there's a live team that pumps out free content there. I mean, we're still getting free content for Guild Wars 1. They put out a patch in February with the latest Guild Wars Beyond information content. So they've already established that even though it's a free-to-play game or a no subscription fee game, they still will put out free content. And what's interesting is I searched around today because I was trying to find a quote from Colin Johansson that I dug up months ago. But basically, they said something pretty interesting, that the live team is going to be including like new content weekly. And we're not talking about like a huge patch here, but I couldn't find exactly where I found it, so I'm hoping I'm not making this up. But I remember reading something about that they're going to be able to like have an area like with dynamic events in it, where there might be like 40 or 50 dynamic events in a certain area. And on a weekly or semi-weekly basis or every couple weeks or so, they can actually phase some of those out and put new ones in. So that, every time you kind of go through an area, there might be different dynamic events that you never even saw that there before, even though you might have leveled through there. And I just think that that's amazing that can go on behind the scenes, and you never know which things are going to be there or whatnot. And that could be a different way of putting new content in without necessarily like bombarding you with this huge patch.
And if your memory serves correct, you're actually thinking that they said something along the lines of weekly?
I heard it today from Colin Johansson's mouth. It's in an interview in November on YouTube. He said that they have a live team who's going to be dedicated, and they're going to be looking to put in new things on a weekly basis, is what he said. So yeah, I'm not suggesting that they're putting a huge patch with tons of content in every week, but some kind of changes and ebb and flow so that it's a dynamic feeling world. How do you guys
feel about microtransaction content? Like, I personally am a fan of it, actually, to pay small amounts of money for small bits of content, even, like a dungeon pack or something like that. Like EverQuest did those for a while, those adventure packs, and I thought they were fantastic. They were like, I forget, like $5.99 or something. I was totally cool with doing those little like microtransaction adventure packs.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
It's, buffet service. You just pick what you want. You know what I mean? It's just the idea that I understand why people get worried about this, because microtransactions have always been something associated with things going wrong in the past with games. I think for a large part of the community, people see real money transactions as an invite for things to go bad. But again, the market, the genre itself, and the whole industry is changing. and Guild Wars 2 is on the cusp of that change over into a new era for MMOs. Not just because of its design and everything else, but simply the business models and the way it's going about it this is where the industry's going. And they're not going to create things to destroy themselves. So they have to be things that A, people can afford, B, that they're desirable, but C, that they don't annoy the large proportion of their fan base. So again, after seeing the job they've done with what I've seen so far, I think I understand people being cautious of it, but I think you need to sit back and give it a chance to really go. I don't have a problem with it at all, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think.
And I
really don't.
And I gotta say to everybody out there as well, if you're not a fan of the microtransaction, like, you know, and it's understandable why a lot of, especially U.S. players, are probably a little bit against the microtransaction free-to-play market, because in the past, well, a lot of the games have been crap, right? We've got a lot of ports, a lot of games that really didn't seem worth it, and they. I feel like League of Legends was really one of the first games to come out in the U.S. that gamers don't even like think of it as free to play. Like it kind of doesn't even enter their mind. They don't even realize that, hey, that's a free to play game. You know what? They did it right. They did it really respectfully. They did it right. You know, some people could not spend a penny in that game, still have a great time. And one thing I can say is that coming from the Game Developers Conference this year in San Francisco at GDC and sitting in on a bunch of talks, the one thing that everybody kept saying over and over and over is that in next, 2012, 2013, 2014, whatever you're working on now, and they're talking to game developers, is you have to make your game free. That's it.
Yeah.
Like from day one, the first thing you write down in your design document is the game needs to be free. And so that's where the industry's going. I mean, in another 2 years, I think, I wouldn't even be surprised if some of these box prices completely go away as well for the online games like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you need to get people in the door, and when you have a huge, making your game free, you're going to have a huge player base. And once you have a huge player base, and you combine that with a game that they love, they're going to throw money at you, and you can support your game like that. And I think that it's an important distinction that sometimes these ports or whatever they don't work out so well. But if you're designing your game from the beginning to operate in that kind of business model, it can be very, very successful. They proved it in Arena. It's already proved it with how successful Guild Wars 1 was, because that there was microtransactions in that as well. You just gotta trust that they're gonna do right by you, and I think they're gonna hit it right, and it's gonna work out really well.
People inherently like to spend money. I mean, that's like proven. Yeah. People like to buy things. You just have to give them stuff good enough to want to buy them. So if you try and pull the wool over their eyes, you try and sell them crap, no, they won't, buy your stuff. But if you make something good enough, people will spend $1.
And not only will they spend it if it's good enough, if you can get that loyalty, they'll keep on spending.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's the thing about this that I think people don't quite understand, and I think that's why they're worried about the idea of content going on. It's like, well, it can't be good. There's a certain MMO recently who said that other MMOs can't produce the content they can because they don't have a subscription. Star Wars: The Old Republic said that they've still got a subscription because they can provide much better content ongoing than those that don't. Now, if you look at the figures for in-game, the real money transactions, the amount, as you said, the average of spending, how many people are taking up that opportunity, I think that argument is an absolute fallacy.
It's hard to say. Them's fighting words. Daniel Erickson's going to come and absolutely just knock down your door. Absolutely. Hey, really quickly, also, I'm looking at chat room. I'm kind of paying attention to it while we're doing this show, and I don't know if this has just come out or not, but it looks like it's been confirmed. It looks like 48 servers for beta this weekend. That is a lot of servers.
Oh yeah.
For a weekend. I think the list might actually be up at this point. But 48.
Does that include overflow?
I don't know. Like 24 North America we're seeing. I'm trying to watch it now, and I don't have any of this confirmed, so I'm going off a chat room right now. I'm seeing 24 North American servers, 48 and 24 not 48. I don't know. I don't have confirmation, but it looks like the list is up. 48 might be worldwide. 24. Oh yeah, 24 US, 24 Euro. People are saying. That's what you're getting. So. I guess a lot of people want to play some Guild Wars 2 this weekend. All right.
A few.
Just a couple. Randall Price Also had a little bit to say about their longer term goals. He said this. He said, we today know a number of the high level features that we're going to do, and expansion content for years to come. We're launching a service. You don't launch a box and be done with it. We have years of awesome, fun work ahead of us. And I think that's really the point now, is that you hear that being talked about a lot, especially in the MMO communities, that MMO companies are not, they're not strictly like game companies, they're service companies. They provide a service, and really almost the hard work starts after they launch, because that's when everything really kicks into gear. And I think that's something that a lot of people coming into this new just really need to kind of, you know, I think I hate to say, I don't want to say put your faith in them. That's like me going out on the line for them. But you know what? They're going to deliver here.
Yeah. It's not about faith. It's about looking at the evidence that we have so far and what's being produced, and then taking that and deciding if that's a good indicator of what we have to come. If the game was shoddy, if it looked like it'd been sort of slapped together, and it was not a very good experience, then it would be perfectly within reason to think, hold on, this could all go wrong. But that's just not the case at all. So from what we've seen so far, they seem to really be on the ball, they seem to know what they're doing, and they seem to have direction and the plans to back it up. So I don't think it's faith, I just think it's observation, and just it seems that's the way it's going.
Richie, what do we know about this? I mean, one of the high level features they have apparently on the drawing board, we've heard little grumblings about. Have we heard about guild airships? Have we heard about this? Anything?
You know what? I tried to find information about. I mean, they've mentioned airships a couple times. We've seen it in some concept art, especially for Lion's Arch and stuff like that. We've seen them flying. They have said that they're not going to be pilotable by players. They have said that they are not a form of transportation, but they said that they will, you know, tie into personal stories somehow, and maybe be involved in some dynamic events. But, you know, as far as confirming anything like a guild airship, that would be super cool, but I've got no information for you on that.
I was just
Scott has any more.
That would fit that description, wouldn't it?
I was just kind of making that up to just project that out into the into the arena net, so to speak. I'm just like, guild airships, wouldn't that be super cool? Maybe it'll happen.
That's what you want. I was going to say, and get them out before the Old Republic Capital Guild ships, and then that would be hilarious.
Oh, that would be hilarious. All right, let's do some viewer questions. First up from Keith Downey. Keith says, in the beta weekends, should we stay away from the race-specific story chains? Or do you think that the experience is strong enough that it isn't ruined by seeing it once before? What do you think, Richie?
I think that's a personal preference thing. I mean, if that's the thing that you're really looking forward to most, and you are prone to having things spoiled, then yeah, maybe don't play the race that you're really excited about right away. You know, play one of the other ones, or don't do the personal story at all. It's totally optional. You could play. You know, you're not going to run out of content this weekend, that's for sure. You could do dynamic events, you can explore the world, you could do world versus world, you could do competitive PvP, and not even touch the personal story. So, you know, you gotta have to judge that for yourself. You know, if you think you're going to spoil it for yourself, then choose a different race that you know you're not going to really play come launch.
What about you, Scott?
If you don't watch the video I'm putting up tomorrow morning, then. Yeah, Guardian's Tale Part 6, the finale tomorrow morning. Anyway, there is... also, if you play through the personal story, remember that it's affected by the choices that you make right at the start in character creation, and also as you go along, which changes it. So if you really want to get a taste of it, you can do that, and then just make different choices when you play it when it goes live, and it'll be a different, maybe not a completely different, but certainly a different experience. So I don't think it's. I think it's, again, it's down to you. If you feel that playing it at all is going to spoil it completely for you, then just don't. There's so much else to do. The thing about personal story, which is great, it's probably the closest to classic questing, of MMO questing in the game, where you go in and he tells you to do something, and then you go to the next bit and he tells you to do something. But it's completely pick up and put down. If you don't want to play it at all, you don't have to, and it's fine. But if you want to live in it, you can do that too. And over this weekend, you will not in any way exhaust any aspect of this game whatsoever. If I was you, and I said this in the last Guildcast all those many few days ago, think about what you're going to do, because you're going to get snowed under and come out at the end going, okay, I don't know if I actually did anything because there's that much to do. I couldn't get through doing anything really at all.
It really is true. That is
yeah.
really, you're really going to just scratch the surface. You're definitely not going to see enough of it to ruin it. Although I kind of personally, I take the road of trying to roll stuff in beta that I kind of know I'm not probably going to play at launch. Sometimes it's happened where I'll be like, oh my God, I like that class, or, that's, so much that I'll end up going to play it. But at the same time, I don't know, I kind of do try to avoid what I think I'm going to like. So I like the sense of like, day one, it's officially launched and I've got like a whole new experience, like right from level one. I kind of personally like that. But yeah, I think if you roll whatever you want to roll for beta, you're probably not going to get through enough of it to ruin your experience.
No.
All right, next up from David Leak. David asks, with the Sylvari and the Asura not playable in the beta on full game release, which race do you think will be most popular? I'm assuming David wants to know if we think Sylvari or the Asura, which one is going to be more popular out of those two, or in general? I'm not sure across the board.
Well, this kind of depends. It seems like he's suggesting that we may never see the Asura or the Sylvari in a beta test, and how that might affect the population, come the launch of the game. And I think, they still may come out with a beta event, and reveal those races. So I'm not so sure. I know that in polls on internet things that out of all the races so far, humans seem to be the most popular. I think that's interesting. And I can speak for myself. Like, humans don't normally draw me in because I like playing something different than what I am in real life. But this game, they look so good, and the starting area is just amazing. The windmills and the farmlands, and Divinity's Reach is your home capital. Like, I'm strongly considering playing a human, and I think a lot of other players are as well.
Divinity's Reach, just wow! It sells the race. It really does. Divinity's Reach is incredible. That's not saying Holbrack and the Black Citadel aren't, but you just run around it and you're just like, I can't believe this place. And the scale of it, the just grandeur. Then you run outside and you're in a Van Gogh painting, and it keeps on going. So I'm not surprised that humans are that popular. And let's face it, that is a trend away from, usually humans aren't often the most popular in MMOs.
Yeah.
I know for me, if I'm playing an MMO, I don't want to go to the race I am. Quite often, you want to have some escapism and real sort of high adventure. But the humans they're fantastically well put together. They're just a really lovely, well designed experience.
It's interesting.
The rest of them are as well.
It's interesting because I actually do usually roll a human. I usually do.
Do you?
Yeah, I usually roll a human. I don't know, just kind of. I think the actual it connects a little bit more. But I'm really excited about the Char. And one thing we did,
Sylvari, I think, are going to be huge.
But one thing we didn't talk about too, you got getting into the cities and stuff. But we're going to actually get to see Lion's Arch for the first time live in game, which we have not seen before. And we haven't seen the other cities, right? You haven't, so it's kind of hard to say, how popular they're going to be. I think out of the two, if it's going to be Asura or Sylvari. I think Sylvari are going to be more popular for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the community. If you just look at the community, if you look around any of the boards in the community, the Sylvari is the one out of the two that's always. I mean, the Azura look fantastic as well, and they look so much fun. The golems and everything look fantastic fun, but the Sylvari are just such a unique take on that kind of otherworldly race that usually is filled by the elves, and I'm glad they shied away from the design of the elves and went for something that's definitely particular to Guild Wars 2. And the idea of race that's like 25 years old total, and completely sort of alien sort of approach to everything. It's just really intriguing. And the Azure, you can easily sort of see their links to other kinds of races in MMOs, the sort of tinkerers and that kind of look. But the Sylvari are very interesting, unique, and should have an incredibly interesting starter area around the Grove and the Pale Tree and everything. Should be great.
All right, next up from Mark Robichaud. Mark asks, do you feel that with the trait system in place, that over time, players won't think for themselves and pick traits as they see fit? Instead of going to an Azura elitist, site with all the theory-crafted best builds. What do you think there, Richie?
Well, this goes back to a couple GuildCasts ago when you reminded me that I still suck.
Did I say that? I didn't.
No, but it's true though. It's like, well, no, not that I suck, but people are going to do they're going to post builds on websites. That's going to happen forever. Every game that you have any kind of customization options, that will always happen from this point forward. But they are designing this game differently. Whereas other games, you can look up a spec or a build online, and you can punch in those numbers, and it might do half the work for you, and you suddenly have a huge boost of power. I can tell you from personal experience that that does not happen as much in Guild Wars 2. It's more about how you play a spec or a build. Much more important than the actual build itself. So your skill type or the way you play, it might actually be worthwhile for you to play like a suboptimal spec or different things like that. It's just designed to be different than that. And I punched in numbers directly from a website during one of my beta tests, and it did not help me whatsoever. I had to.
You still sucked.
I still sucked. Exactly.
Interesting here. Mark had a follow-up question to this as well, and this is really interesting, Scott. Mm-hmm. Mark says, if the above happens, will that mess up the dub v dub scene, since players can instantly make an alt, go to the mists, and be max level, making a flood of build professions steamrolling everyone? I mean, no. I mean, a lot of this rests on ArenaNet's balancing department, but it is kind of a valid concern.
I think, and Mike B and I talked about this quite a lot, and you can hear that coming up on, not tomorrow, the day after. I can't remember what day of the week it is. Thursday. Coming on Thursday. A lot of people are going to go for this, what they see as the ultimate build, and what people forget is how important utility is in this game. And if you go for just, say, pure damage or pure defense or pure whatever, which is difficult to do anyway in the way that the builds work, you're going to not bring a lot of utility that is incredibly important in PvP. WVW, especially when there's so many of you around, you can make such a difference, especially for a Guardian, because you're really cool, with the abilities that you bring that help the ones around you. So if people go out for this like cookie cutter build, there's going to be those. Of course there are. There's always those, and a lot of people are going to go for them. But the way that they're put together, as Richie said, and the way that skill is so important in this game, it's not just numbers. It's the way you use your character, the many different abilities you got to choose from, and how you select those abilities at the right time. That you are not going to have just simply one build destroying everybody. The game's not built that way for it to really work that effectively.
Can we just clarify something on that question? He mentioned W versus W, right? Mm-hmm. You actually get bumped up to level 80 in terms of your statistics in World versus World, but you do not have your traits unlocked. You do not have your skills unlocked. So you that kind of issue would not have any bearing on World versus World. Now, in competitive PvP, that makes a little bit more sense. But
very good point.
Yeah.
All right, next up from Aaron Cutright. Aaron loves the black metal. Aaron says, I have not heard or seen anything on desert areas, which there was some of it in the original Guild Wars. Is the desert still in the world, and have any of you seen or heard anything about it? I didn't experience anything.
When I scroll my map back really far.
You saw some?
The Crystal Desert's like in the south. Wait a minute.
East.
I'm getting confused. Southeast, thank you. I don't know my left from my right tonight. Yeah, in the southeast, way down south of Ascalon, keep on going down, and the Crystal Desert there. It's not going to be anything you can actually go around in the game, just at launch, anyway. Who knows later? But, it's part of the world, but that particular area you're not going to be able to play in.
Yeah, a lot of the desert regions in Guild Wars 1 are on the continent of Alona, and that's probably going to be expansion material. But I do think maybe parts of Ascalon, where the Char start, are kind of Badlandsy. They're kind of desolate a little bit. I don't know if they're technically desert, but you might be able to, get your desert fix there.
Get your desert fix on.
Big fans of sand.
Get your desert on.
Do you want a bucket and spade and a parasol somewhere? That's where it is.
All right, last up from Krister Lickvist. Hopefully I got that right. It says, we all know about the cross-profession combos by now, but how useful are these really? From what I've been able to tell from all the videos I've seen, the gain from these combos have seemed rather trivial, thus not really encouraging players to utilize them. Scott, I see you looking mighty confused at that.
I'm very confused because was it from counting the numbers up in the videos, or I'm not quite sure. They look really cool, and that's all that matters.
Yeah,
isn't it? Yeah, basically, they're there. They do make a difference when there's a crowd of you and things are going off and combos going off. It does make a difference. Is it going to be enough to one-shot somebody just because you fired an arrow through the correct field or something? No, but it's going to be difficult to do that anyway with any of your main abilities. So it adds to your strength. Is it enough to be overpowered? No, but surely that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's smart design. You don't want these cross-profession combos to be ultra powerful. You want them to be fun. You want to be encouraged to work together because they, produce a really cool-looking effect, and they're going to be helpful. But you don't want them to be mandatory, so that there's certain combinations of people that you have to have in order to do this explorable mode dungeon, or certain compositions you have to have in competitive PvP because of those cross-profession combinations. They're absolutely smart by not making those ultra powerful. They have to be fun, cool little additions, not break the world kind of stuff.
Fun, cool little additions. Don't break my world. Hey, if I didn't mention at the beginning, don't forget, GuildCast is now moving to Tuesdays. GuildCast Live, you guys want to experience the show live, we're going to be doing it now on Tuesdays at 6 to 7 PDT-ish. It's always ish here at Gamebreaker because we never start on time. But if you guys haven't hung out for a live show, I encourage you. So next Tuesday, come on down at 6 PDT for a live show. Richard Procopio, you can follow him on the Twitter at Richie Procopio. And of course, go over to massively.com. You got anything coming out this week you want to talk about?
Yeah, I've got some live stream shows for Massively coming this weekend, Guild Wars 2 beta stuff, and some videos coming out of my YouTube channel, Bog Otter.
Imagine that. Guild Wars 2 videos coming from Richie Procopio.
Imagine that.
Watch that. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Richie Procopio. And our very own Scott Hawks, editor-in-chief extraordinaire. Follow him at Jarimor, Jarimor. What else we got coming out on Gamebreaker for Guild Wars 2 fans?
Well, apparently first thing tomorrow morning we're going to have up a thing about the servers going up. Better get cracking on that. Guardians Tale Part 6 first thing tomorrow morning. The next day we're going to have the second part of the PvP Q&A. Friday we'll talk about everybody going crazy, jumping in there. We're going to be doing live streaming. We're going to get a bunch of us together and go crazy in WVW. I'll be on fire because I always am. And I think Elizabeth's coming along. We're going to see who we can have coming along and just have lots of fun. Join us.
So
enjoy it.
Gamebreaker WVW live stream. I'll just say all weekend long. You guys won't sleep. You're just going to play all weekend long. Don't forget, guys, if you guys haven't signed up, now's the perfect time. Go over to netflix.com/Gamebreaker TV right now and sign up for your 30-day free trial. 30-day free trial. Go watch Ancient Aliens. It's amazing. I love it. It's awesome. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at Gary Gannon, GaryGannon. You can follow Gamebreaker TV at Gamebreaker TV as well. And Scott, don't forget Monday. Then you got the post beta, and then you got.
Oh yeah!
My God, the site's gonna explode. All right, guys, have a great rest of the week, and make sure to drink lots of water. Maybe eat a banana over the weekend while you're, don't want anyone passing away. I don't want any of these U.S. Guild Wars 2 player passes away after 46 hours of nonstop play and forgot to eat or something. Make sure you put something in your mouth. Hopefully it's healthy.
Not your keyboard.
Yeah, not your keyboard. Don't get.
It's gonna be an awesome show next week.
Have a banana.
Oh yeah.
We don't want scurvy. All right. Have a good week.
Take care.